There's the countdown. This is the Game Changers podcast. I'm your host, Dale Dixon, alongside Eric Boles. How you
What's going on,
doing?
Dale? Good, my friend.
So we're live streaming this conversation, which is a podcast recording, and we're live streaming on both YouTube and LinkedIn. So if you're joining us platforms, welcome. It is fantastic to have you with us. Eric coaches, trains, and inspires leaders to unleash their best and the best of those around them. You can find out more about Eric at thegamechangersinc.com. I'm a chief innovation officer for a Better Business Bureau, and I coach executives on how to communicate effectively in front of a camera. And together we have these conversations on a weekly basis. So the audio will end up on your favorite podcast app. And we are today having a conversation about this concept of a shift that you're seeing, Eric, to get things done.
Yes. I really like the way you described it off camera, which was just get stuff done. I mean, and there is a shift. Obviously coming through the pandemic, some of all the challenges that were taking place for a while from based on the industry, but supply chain dynamics or just all the changes taking place that seem to be out of people's control. Um, we were in survival mode. We were in how do we navigate all this change and get through it and everything. It seems like there's been a definite pivot now where it's like, okay, we've done everything we need to do. Now it's time to perform. Like
Mm.
we let's go score, let's go make plays. We don't have time to sit here and wait for everything to work out again. We have to go get it done. No one's sitting around waiting until everything's perfect. And so that's the shift I've not only the shifts I've seen, that's the shift I've heard. That's been I think it's been made very, very clear. I would even say, looking at, I'm not predictive or anything, but just looking at the dynamic in the marketplace. I don't know if just there's going to be a bunch of tailwinds that help facilitate people getting things done. I think we're going to have to start having the discipline to get things done in the face of headwinds. Whether it's inflation, whether it's economic issues or changes. I just think now the whole shift comes to no matter what we got to get done. No matter what we got to go through, we got to get it done.
Okay. We're going to unpack that for the podcast. So with that said, let's start the recording audio version for this and jump right in.
Let's go.
Shifting to getting stuff done. Welcome to the Game Changers podcast. I am your host, Dale Dixon. I help perform in front of a camera, and I'm the Chief Innovation Officer for a Better Business Bureau. Eric Boles coaches, trains, and inspires leaders to their potential and the potential of those around him, around them. You can find him at thegamechangersinc.com. Eric, great.
Great to be here, my brother.
So our topic today is this idea of shifting what's happening in the workplace to, I would say, almost get back to what we were trying to do before the pandemic, and that is get stuff done. So tell us the genesis conversation that you shared with me before we hit the record button.
So one of my clients, pharmaceutical organization, one of my clients who I do a ton of work with, I felt like, especially through the pandemic era, they demonstrated the kind of care, the kind of concern you have for your people, making those adjustments. We all know about all the supply chain issues that were taking place, all the uncertainty that was taking place. And I believe a lot of companies were doing everything in their power to the best of their ability to equip their people to manage those changes, both personally and professionally, to the best of their ability. With that being said, I believe after all that's happened and all the investment that's been made, made, now it's about we're pivoting this pivot to now it's time to perform. Like I get it. We've gone through a lot of difficulty. We've been through some things, but now it's time to get results. Because at the end of the day, I say often, the scoreboard doesn't care until the ball crosses the goal line, right? Like, so everything you got to go through, scoreboard's not going to change until you actually score a point. And it just seems like in the marketplace, there's been a re-emphasis on performance. Like, okay, it's now time to perform. And when we talk about getting stuff done, it's not just activity. Like, it's not, okay, we need to get stuff done, but that doesn't mean just busy for being busy, or tons of activity. Um, what we do need though is high leverage activities that actually change the scoreboard. I had an interesting conversation yesterday with a client where I'm with, we're going to spend a couple days, but in our conversation, they made it very clear, and we talked about it together. We don't want to have conversations about the concept of success. So we're not getting together to have successful conceptual conversations. We're getting together to get very clear on successful game changing activity that leads to the kind of results they want. That is a totally different conversation because it requires like feedback. It requires, I like to call it, um, um, uh, like there's a zero sum game to it. Like there's an analysis. It's like a truth bearing analysis where we're evaluating, going, does the activity that we are involved in, are we defining that as getting stuff done? Like, is that translating to results? If it's not, we need to be able to say no to this and yes to this. And I think there's more organizations, leaders, and managers of teams who are coming together having those conversations, because anything else is just distraction. So we got to get to the very things that's actually leading to results.
So I'm curious to dissect this and better understand h- how we got to this place. And I'll posit a theory
Okay.
that and use the analogy of a balance board or a Bosu ball. So if you've ever seen one of these, basically you stand on the board and you've got to maintain balance. It does not have a flat bottom.
Yeah.
Or a Bosu ball is basically one of those exercise balls cut in half. So it
Yep.
has a flat surface on the
Hmm.
bottom, but you have to stand on top of this and try to maintain your balance on this squishy
Yeah.
ball. So that's the analogy. And I'm thinking, was COVID our Bosu ball or our balance board, where
Mm.
somebody walked up to us and tried to push us off balance, and it took us 3 years or 2 years to find our balance, and now we're saying, okay, we're back in balance. We know where we're at, what we're doing, where we're going, but we've got to get productive again.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there
First of
some of
all,
that, or are there some
yeah.
other
First,
things that you're
first of
seeing with
all,
clients?
yeah. Because first of all, I love the analogy with the Bosu ball in the process, because we had to get balanced that way. There are a lot of how do I describe it from a physical standpoint? Man, my joints, my even my ligaments, even my balance have actually gotten stronger because of. So now we're like, now that you're stronger, that's the purpose of getting using that equipment isn't just to be good on that equipment. So the goal isn't just to be really good at balancing on a bowling ball. No, it translates to, it gives me, I should be more stronger, more balanced, more effective in the stuff that translates, right? So as an athlete, I use that a lot to help equip me, but it needs to be translated to the field where now it makes me that much more effective. I think what we've gone through from COVID to post COVID and all the things to right now has been there to set us up to take advantage of what's in front of us right now, which is we're stronger now. Now, again, are there headwinds? Without question. But I believe every group has in them and what they need to create the change and performance improvement that's necessary. And so that shift in mindset is viewing what we went through during COVID as preparation to push the gas pedal down, not to sit back and relax. Like, now is the time to go from potential to actual performance.
So, what are some of the ways? I'm going to keep using this balance analogy, but
Mhm.
what are some of the ways that you balance, or is it a flip of a switch that, hey, we've spent those last 2 to 3 years working on our balance, and now we've got to transition into the get stuff done type of mindset? Or is it, hey, been there, done that, it's time to get stuff done, flip the switch?
I actually kind of like the second one. Like I think we need to flip the switch and just go. I think over thinking this, we got what it takes. Let's go. Because some of the work you put in in getting balanced, it reveals itself when you're playing. So you can't. That's not something you do ahead of time. Okay, when this happens, we got enough balance. No, you got balance. So go. So go. You will be able to course correct. You will be able to adapt on the field. You're a better athlete now than you were before. Go make plays. Now we're going to give you a game plan, right? These are the plays we're going to run. This is what we want to do. But at the end of the day, you got to get stuff done. You got to make a play. In football, we used to say it this way: do your job. Well, it's hard. A good point, but do your job. Like, what's your assignment? And you've been equipped to make sure it happens. So the key is we just got to be clear on what's productive and what's not. It's the benefit of COVID on one end was, it allowed people to sit back and really determine what matters most from a personal standpoint, right? Like a lot of adjustments and stuff people were able to make. But now we have to ask those same kind of truth-bearing questions to ourselves. Like, in everything that I'm doing each week, is it translating to really getting stuff done? Where is there waste? Where is some of those difficult conversations that I got to have? Like, we got to 80-20 everything right now. Look, we just do. There's no getting around it. I'm a big believer in using both the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule, and Parkinson's law all at the same time, right? I believe we got to determine the few things that make the biggest difference. And then we got to give ourselves a limited amount of time to get the most important things done. Because the more time you give anything, the longer it takes. And so we're in one of these moments. I've been one particular group that I'm working with. I say, hey, if you guys are in the business of getting stuff done, then get stuff done constantly. Start getting stuff done in every meeting you're in. Start getting stuff done in every interaction that you're having. That means sometimes you got to shorten them. Doesn't mean you don't care. It just means if I was going to give this meeting an hour, I'm now giving it 30 minutes. That means people got to get to the point. And it's the discipline of that. People always think when I say, hey, cut your meetings in half. Well, we need to get aligned. That's true. But you have this belief that alignment really takes a lot of time. It doesn't. It just takes really real conversations. So it's just forcing you to get to the point faster, sooner. And you already have enough built-in rapport to do that. Now, I understand that new leadership team first coming together, and there's a process for that. But in most cases, if people really evaluate it, they start discovering how much waste exists. Dale, I had this conversation with you. One of the things that I enjoy doing, and obviously I was with the Jets, and Pete Carroll was my coach when I was with the Jets. He was with the Seahawks now. But Pete, who, I love to death, he endorsed my book. He's been a huge supporter. I'm a big believer in how Pete does everything. And so there are times where Pete's allowed me to come to practice, even bring clients there to practice, during training camp. And one of the things I enjoy the most is hearing from my clients say, what I'm most amazed by is the pace. What I'm most amazed by is the efficiency. Like, all that effort I am seeing is being used efficiently. And I'm like, yes, because it's not enough to just get on the same page, or it's not enough to work well together. You got to work well together at pace, at speed, because the game happens faster. And so if you can do that effectively, it then translates to game time. Now we got it, because it's a balance of everything. It's a balance of knowing your job. It's a balance of being able to move at your job at pace. It's a balance of being able to react to what's going on. And that was the purpose of training camp. That was the purpose of the off season. That's the purpose of all that. And I've been trying to encourage leaders, like, that was the purpose of the pandemic. Use it that way. Yeah, the pandemic and all this stuff, but use what you've gone through to now prepare you to take advantage of opportunities that are going to take advantage of, because you're tougher than you were before. And so that's why I always enjoy bringing leaders who I've had the opportunity to coach and let them witness. Most people just think they're watching football. Oh man, you are watching like organizational mastery. Right. You're watching, 11, 22 guys on the field on different teams, obviously, with all kinds of different motivations and desires, and all of them aren't paid the same, and everything's not equal and fair. But at one moment, man, the pace, the focus, everything, they 80-20 everything until they're only doing the high leverage activities that make the biggest difference.
So this just flashes me back to one of those influential times in my life. I was fortunate enough to make friends with one of the coaching staff at Boise State University shortly after the Fiesta Bowl that everybody remembers.
Oh,
So
against Oklahoma.
yes, yep. So the my son was playing football, and it was Pop Warner kind of young kid football. And the team was struggling, and I was talking to this friend of mine about it, and he was like, "Well, let me come watch practice." And so he came and watched practice with me, and about 5 minutes in, he said, "I see the problem." He said, and I said, "Well, what do you see? Tell me, what are you seeing, the professional at this?" And he said, "Watch the coaches. None of them are running. To your point, they're not at pace, and they're not setting a pace for the kids." And when and it was the strength of leadership in action that really just came alive there on that football field, as he explained the pace of practice and
Yes.
what that needs to look like so that it carries on to performance on the field. So it was really cool to be able to live that, exactly what you're talking about.
One of the things that these are little things, but leaders who emphasize, hey, I need my people to get stuff done. We need to get stuff done. I said, sounds good. I'm always asking the question. Okay, so what are you getting done? So what are you getting done? I don't care if it's a small thing, but what are you getting done? What are you scratching off the list? Whatever, where are you moving the change? Where are you doing? So if you ever go to a practice, and I love Honor and Pete on this, but um, there's energy. He's the oldest coach in the league, and there's nothing but energy coming from him, like constantly. He's talking, he's moving. But what you also notice is no one's standing around. So the rest of the team is not standing around just watching a group. There's something for someone to do at the whole time. So what doesn't happen is there's rules in place now in terms of the length of time the players can have in practice. It's collective bargain, right? So we can't practice just for 4 hours. Well, we only got 2 hours for practice. There's a set amount of time. So what you do with those 2 hours, the amount of time is not as important. It's how you allocate that time in it. And that also includes how fast you transition, how fast you move, how fast people engage. Well, I tell leaders all the time, man, make your meetings count. I mean, make everything you do count. If you're going to get stuff done, if we have a meeting on Monday and we're going to meet again the following Monday, and I got my leadership team together, and we come back the following Monday, and we don't even review what got done since last Monday, and we just have another one. I mean, it's unbelievable. Not only have we lost the time of that week, we are now using attention currency, which we don't have an unlimited amount of, on things that should have already shifted to something brand new. And these are I always call I call it low hanging fruit, but what it really is, for a lot of us, I think it was Earl Nightingale said this. I thought it was such a brilliant statement. He said one time, he goes, the opposite of fear. No. He said the opposite of courage is not fear. I thought it was. He said the opposite of courage is conformity. And he says, we have to fight. You have to have enough courage to fight against conformity. It's conformity that gets in our way. And so there's a lot of wasted time in organizations, not because people are fearful. They've just been conditioned to waste time, right? Like it's just normal. And so when you were talking about your son's Pop Warner team, those kids are just going to naturally model what they're witnessing. So if there's energy, you're going to see energy. If there's not, there's none. So I talk to leaders all the time. I say, you're complaining about an organization and waste time. That, as my father used to say it best, son, if it's raining in the congregation, it's probably cloudy in the pulpit, right? Right. So so we got to get it right there.
So we love giving leaders action items,
Yes.
things that they can go back and do. And I've picked up on three specific things that you've outlined for us. And we can dive deeper into these three and definitely add to them. But number one, you gave us the charge that we need a game plan. And
Yep.
everybody needs to know the game plan, which leads to clarity. And not only clarity of the plan, but clarity of one's role inside the organization. Here's what I'm doing to help the team move the ball down the field. And then the third item is you do it now. You are productive now, and you are productive in every area. You make productivity a habit. So the
Yes.
meetings are productive.
Yep. Yeah, I want to, obviously we talk about clarity, role, a game plan. Now, again, the game plan, the ultimate goal is to make sure the activities that we do are high leverage activities. It's if I'm going to have to cut a tree down and I'm swinging like crazy, right? I mean, obviously we know the analogy of sharpening an axe, but we also want to make sure we're cutting at the root level. We're not cutting in the middle. I mean, and so sometimes you have to talk enough about, where I'm going, okay, there's activity we need to do, but we need to make sure the activity we do, what result is created. And so this is why I'm a big believer in the 80-20 rule in such a strong way. Like, okay, we need to get stuff done. But but in order to get stuff actually done, the stuff has to matter. So what's the stuff that matters? What's the end result we're trying to get to? And what's the most expedient, fastest, most effective way to get that done? If getting it done, it may require us to be a little uncomfortable. Good. It's probably going to be something especially if we're fighting against inertia or fighting against conformity, which is we have a tendency to waste time. Guess what? We're going to have to go a little bit extreme the other direction to make sure we don't keep letting that happen. So that means we're going to have some, hey, some of the stuff we were doing last week, we're not doing this week. All right, hey, here's the agenda on the calendar. Can we get to the most important thing on the agenda first? All right, we're not doing the reporting out. Then just get to the conversation we need to have right from the beginning. Here's the result we want. All these little disruptions are necessary to get that sense of urgency back, because that's where we're at. Point number two, that you were saying that where you were talking about do it now. One of the reasons is so powerful. Like I would say, momentum's a leader's best friend. And momentum is a result of taking advantage of a moment. And the moment you can take advantage of mostly is now. So take the moment of now, use it, and you connect enough of those together, you've now created momentum. But you don't put off momentum. You have to take action now. So I tell salespeople all the time, like, you're sitting there at your desk, a prospect or an opportunity comes to your mind, man, call now. Right? Like, call now. Don't just do it now. Like, act on it. Get in the habit of doing things now. I don't care if you have to put it on your a mantra. I got one of the leaders I worked with for a number of years. Used to run T-Mobile. He was at Starbucks with me, and he actually put a little a sticky note on every one of his places, and it just says, "Do it now." And the amount of time, not only time did he save, but the amount of impact he had from these little actions that he just acted on. Like, most of the things that if we do it right now, it doesn't take a whole lot. If we were just to get the ball rolling, especially leaders. So a leader asks this or speak to this or follow up on this. And these little things create momentum. And then you turn around and like, man, we've come a long way. Why is that? Because we took action. But what was the key to taking action? Doing it now. Like, everybody talks about, here's the action items we got. Okay, but what I'm really curious is, when are you starting? Hopefully today. Hopefully right now. Hopefully as soon as you walk out of the room. Because the probability that you act on it tomorrow is actually decreases with every hour that goes by.
Yeah. Reminds me of this sign on the side of a restaurant. And I'm sure it's all over the place, but it's free crab tomorrow.
I've never heard that.
You haven't? Okay. Well, and you know why? It's free tomorrow because tomorrow never comes. It's always tomorrow. I'll always do it tomorrow.
I love it. I love it, man. I love it. You know, one of the things I just to encourage everyone out there, um, I to my core, I believe at everyone's core, everybody agrees with what we're talking about. I believe everybody's ready to just get going. I really do. I believe everybody's like, it's time. Let's go. Let's go. Man, I love sports. I love being a part of teams. I love it. And people say all the time, like, it's not whether you win or lose, is how you play the game. And I love the statement, but let me tell you, like, usually winning is a result of making winning plays. Okay, so yeah, it isn't just about winning. It isn't just about losing. But I will tell you, I can handle losing a game because the other team's better. Like I can handle losing a game when we left everything we got on the field, and I can walk off going, "Hey, we do better." But man, I cannot stand losing a game, and because we didn't have urgency, because weren't organized, because we weren't doing the things that actually matter, because we didn't practice well. See, no one. Usually that mantra comes out when it allows us not to have a truth bearing exercise, about what did we do to prepare for that. And many times we lose games out of the things we have control over. I mean, we say all the time, there's a lot of teams who win, but the majority of the teams lose. That's the fact. Most teams lose. It's not that most teams win, it's most teams lose because they do things that are more in alignment with losing plays than winning plays. And but that's what practice is for. And in business, that's what meetings are. They're preparing us to go execute. But we don't have meetings and then not go play. That's like going to a football game and watching teams just huddle up, come to the line of scrimmage, and then go back and huddle up again. You didn't pay to go watch that, man. You paid. I only want to see you huddle enough to entertain me with running a play, right? But there's so many companies, man. All they do is have huddles. Like they literally leave the huddle and don't run a play. It's mind-boggling. It's unbelievable, and we do that all the time.
You're reading somebody's mail right about now, and and I can tell you,
I'm
Eric's
guilty
doing it
too.
with love.
Yeah, doing it with love, bro. I'm talking to myself. Believe
Yes,
me.
yes, absolutely. Well, I think it's time to go out and get stuff done.
Let's go.
And so, thank you for the fantastic conversation. Any final words for us?
No, again, it's progression over perfection, and that's why we keep moving at pace and we course correct as we go. We course correct as we go, but the key is we gotta go. Right?
Absolutely. You get stuff done to unleash your best in life and in work. Thanks for the encouragement, the eye opening encouragement. We appreciate it. We'll just make a quick request to folks. Would you rate and review this podcast wherever you're listening to it? We would be greatly appreciative. And the rating, hopefully, we've earned the 5 stars. A review, just a sentence or two on the impact it's having on you today to go out and get something done immediately. So we would definitely appreciate that. It pushes the podcast higher in search results for people looking for this type of content. And we're gaining more and more listeners every single episode. So thanks for your help with that. You can find Eric at thegamechangersinc.com. Also pick up his book. And we enjoy this opportunity to be with you each and every week. Have a fantastic week.